And it's fascinating to know that, again, that's the fuel, that's the motivator. This isn't the same for everybody else. There's tons of people who have lived a quiet life of achievement and all that sort of stuff. And I wouldn't want to take away from anyone's story or anyone's experience. But I am talking to those who may have been downtrodden, may have been beaten down, or may have been perceived to have been beaten down in their youth, and the war wounds that we hold on to because of it. You talk to yourself you're your own worst critic, and you talk to yourself a lot harder than anybody else will.
So true.
So when you have the ability to say to yourself, like, I'm beyond that now, I've stepped into purpose, and I've used my pain as fuel. That's when you find a wonderful spot, a wonderful place of freedom. So I don't know. My story progresses to, I've used all the pain that I possibly could to create a world where I'm giving as much as I can of myself.
Welcome to the Conscious Journey podcast, where I invite you to have an open heart and an open mind to consciously explore your own life's journey as we dive into conversations that lead to discovery, growth, healing, and expansion. I'm your host, Christy Morrison. Oh my goodness. I'm actually really excited for today. I always start with a laugh. It might be my thing. I actually have someone here that I'm kind of a big fan of. He's pretty inspirational, and he's shared his story, which I think is absolutely amazing, because there's not enough men out there have been vulnerable with their story and open up and kind of talk about their journey. And this guy, Adam, with the Mental Mastery Alliance, not only do I think is a pretty freaking stand-up dude, I'm a big fan. And I'm actually really grateful to call him a friend, because we have some pretty good, deep conversations that I think it's time we record one of them, eh?
I guess that's you bringing me in right now.
Yeah.
I'm happy to be here. Absolutely happy to be here. I know we tried to do this before, but there were some technical difficulties. So I'm happy that you had me back. And yeah, I thank you for the intro. I mean, thank you for your kindness. It's definitely a weird world out there. And if you've got the opportunity or the ability to be kind, I would say do it. There's this. What was it? What's that saying? There's no cost to kindness.
Exactly. I love that sweater that's going around. It's just human and then kind. And I'm like, yes, come on, people.
I've not seen that, but I like that too. Human and kind.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. That's good. So what are we talking about today? What are we doing here today? This is great.
I figured we would have like an open conversation. I don't really want to have like a pinpoint of questions and whatnot, because I think when you and I get flowing, we have a really good conversation. So why not bring in the authenticity and let it flow? But I think we should actually start with your journey, your own personal journey, because you've shared that on your podcast, the Mental Mastery Alliance, and
right.
I think it's it's fucking inspirational. Like I mentioned in the intro, that a lot of people don't have that opportunity. Well, they have an opportunity, they just don't take it to share their story. And we all know that we're not the only ones in this world. There's other people going through similar things. So when you share your story, they can relate and be inspired by, and maybe make adjustments in their own lives and whatnot. So I think that's probably the best place to start, is you just opening your book and sharing.
You want to start? Just tell us everything about you.
Tell us
all. So, I mean, I don't, it's such a weird thing. Like, tell us your story. What a loaded question. How did I get to where I am? How did I become this version of me? there's a lot of things that go into it. The version of me that you're speaking to now is somebody that I'm really proud of, somebody that has put in the work. I know, I'm also not one to toot my own horn ever. So the idea of telling my story is not about me. It never is about me. Like my entire platform and program, it's not about me. And that's one of those things that really kind of irks me about the influencers today. They just want either clout or credibility or
It's a look at me kind of show instead of
yeah.
yeah.
And some people that are watching the show are going to be like, his eyes aren't visible. He's this, he's that. I got to tell you, I'm still becoming the version of me that I want to be. I'm not fully comfortable being on camera. We just did episode. I don't know when this episode's going to go up, but we just recorded. You were on my show, episode 286, and I have the ability to speak, but in every aspect of everything that we're doing, there's room for growth. And that, as it stands right now, again, it's nerve-wracking for me to be on camera.
Yeah, I'm forcing you out of your comfort zone on this one.
Oh, 100%. And I don't know, I don't know why that's the way it is. I don't know. I don't have these answers. There's certain things that, we handle. So why I'm saying that is because, even though it may seem like I'm port polished and that sort of stuff, and then everything's together, there's never one person that's got all the answers. And the minute we stop looking for that one person, the more we can find a myriad of answers in a multitude of places. So my story, that pre-emphasize, my story is, I come from hell. I've lived through personal chaos. I've caused chaos in life. I currently refer to myself as an agent of chaos.
Still.
And that sounds well, and that's it, because that sounds like a terrible thing to some people, depending on how you want to or choose to define chaos.
Yeah, exactly.
But for me, the chaos that I bring is, let's just say somebody's having a life that they assume is what life is, but it isn't. And it's terrible. And they don't know any different. Somebody like me will roll in and just be like, hey, have you seen this shiny object? Have you looked over here? Have you taken a peek at this? Are you aware that this exists?
You're their pattern interrupt.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So when I say agent of chaos, I mean, for anyone who is stuck in any position, I have the ability to alter your perception of either yourself or yourself in the position, or however it looks for you. So that stems from me. So again, my origin comes back to, I was never given anything. I was never hugged as a child. There's so many things that go into my past that demonstrated that, intimacy issues through the roof, personal issues, self-loving issues. Everything about me was based in hate, and I never felt good enough, and I never felt that I was warranted, because the caregivers that were put in front of us didn't live up to my expectations of what they should have been. And one of the freeing things and one of the most liberating things that I went through as I sort of, first I had to essentially completely break down, and in the process do my best to destroy myself, and unfortunately anyone around me at the time. People from my past would say, you were so disrespectful, you were this, you were that, and it's true. I don't denounce that. I don't take that away. I'm like, and I've said it on my show numerous times. If I've ever affected you or hurt you in any way, shape, or form, understand that it was never my intention. It was more that I was so self-destructive that you got too close. And I own that.
And that was your coping mechanism.
Yeah, I own that. And I implore anyone that's in this same position to own it, but not to continue to bleed on other people, because every single thing happens for a reason. And if you arbitrarily were a piece of shit to somebody at some point in time, you taught them a lesson in either boundaries or how to act or react or whatever it was. You made them stronger by being your controversial self. If they choose to be a victim, they'll only be a victim as long as they can possibly manage being a victim, up until the point that they say, I'm no longer a victim. And honestly, you got to pile a lot of shit on somebody until they stop being a victim. So again, I do apologize for anyone that I may have wronged. But I also say, not you're stronger because of me, but I guarantee you that you're stronger today, whoever you are, than you
Right.
were the day I wronged you.
Well, it's not to mitigate that, what happened or whatever what they're feeling. It's not to mitigate that. It's to acknowledge and to, also recognize that for every cause there's a reaction, right? You
Right.
have your own reactions that you have had to deal with from your actions, and then
Yeah.
they've also. So we're in this world where we are all experiencing things and we're doing things from our own perspectives, and we have our own things that we're learning, and every single person who's in your life is there for a reason. They're there to
Right.
teach you something, they're there to help you with something, they're there to point something out. Like there's a million different possibilities of what that person could be.
I 100% agree with that. 100%. And so that's it. So my life, I say my life was hell. And the interesting thing is, the more I go down this road and the more I open up and the more I've talked about my past, and not so much my apologies for who I was, because I'm very proud of who I am today, and I couldn't have gotten here without going through what I went through. I couldn't have gotten here
Exactly.
without
You'd
going
be a different
through the
person.
darkness. Yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely. And it's nice now. It's neat to be sort of in this position, and to see the messages that I get today. My friend Curtis, for example, we went out to a show not too long ago, and I've known Curtis for 20 years. Hell, I wrote my G2 exit test in his car 20 years ago. And Curtis, if you're
Cute.
listening, I absolutely love and adore you with all I've got. You're one of the greatest people on the planet. Your wife is a beautiful angel as well. And I've been blessed to have known that the two of you existed for 20 years. I've watched your son grow up on the internet, on the Facebook there with for better for worse. This is what we've got. So it's a phenomenal thing that I'm included in your life, and then for you to send me a message telling me how what your views on me are, just that the two of you love me, that's huge because what we don't allow ourselves to do is see ourselves from potentially somebody else's eyes, because nobody really
Hmm.
truly remembers who you are. They do remember how you made them feel, however. So the story that you tell yourself about, like, when I say I was a huge piece of shit, because I was so surrounded with self-hate at the time, I just assumed that everybody viewed me the way I viewed myself, that I was a
Hmm.
glorified piece of shit. And it's fascinating to know that, again, that's the fuel, that's the motivator. This isn't the same for everybody else. There's tons of people who have lived a quiet life of achievement and all that sort of stuff. And I wouldn't want to take away from anyone's story or anyone's experience. But I am talking to those who may have been downtrodden, may have been beaten down, or may have been perceived to have been beaten down in their
Hmm.
youth, and the war wounds that we hold on to because of it. Um, you talk to yourself you're your own worst critic, and you talk to yourself a lot harder than anybody else will.
So true.
So when you have the ability to say to yourself, like, I'm beyond that now. I've stepped into purpose, and I've used my pain as fuel. That's when that's when you find a wonderful spot, a wonderful place of
Hmm.
freedom. Um, so I don't know. My story progresses to, I've used all the pain that I possibly could to create a world where I'm giving as much as I can of myself. And when you find that position, the first thing people think of when they hear this is, why would I give? The world's just going to take advantage, right? You learn quite quickly who you can and can't give to. You learn quite quickly what your boundaries are,
Hmm.
and boundary setting is one of the most beautiful things in the entire world. And everybody can achieve whatever they want. I mean, there's no difference between you and the billionaire, or you and a happily married man, or whatever the story is. There's no difference other than the knowledge that this person has.
Hmm.
You can physically do anything that you want to do given enough time.
Exactly.
And it's the same with everything. You can do whatever you want given enough time. We say to ourselves, "That's not for me. I can't do that." But that's not true. That's not true. Actually, I should take that back. It is true. If you say I can't, my dad used to say to me, I'm not 100% sure where he got this quote, but I want to say like Winston Churchill or something like that. He used to say, whether you think you can or you think you can't, either way, you're
You were
right.
right. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that quote. It's actually one of my favorite quotes because it really does. When you sit there and digest it, the first time you hear it, a lot of people are like, "Oh, whatever."
Yeah.
But when you sit there and digest it, and you've applied yourself to something and it actually became to fruition, that statement becomes more powerful because you're like, oh, so all the times I thought I couldn't actually was the fruition. Now
Yeah.
that's a pivotal point in what a lot of people can transform their own lives.
You manifest can't,
Yeah.
right? And this is one of the things too. People don't believe in manifestation, right? But
Fools.
your living, your life is 100% a representation of everything you've already manifested and put the effort in to get.
Yep.
If you want more, do more. And people are like, I'm doing all I can. You're not. You're telling yourself a story.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want more, do more. They're like, there's not enough hours in the day. All right, well, we got delegation. We got to spend some time learning how to do this, how to free up some time.
It's not holding on to the victim mentality, right?
I
So a
think
lot of
so.
people will hold on to the victim mentality. They say like, you had it easier, or you have more money than me. Well, we were all born and we all kind of.
I grew up broke. Like I was so poor. I had to go to bed early for dinner numerous times. I had to save up to be broke. And when I started what I'm doing, like I started with nothing, and then my father even passed away and left me in debt. They came after me for some of his debts. So, when you start off in life like way behind the eight ball, there's not much that you think that you can do until you start doing it. How do you save dollars? One at a time. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
whatever you want to do, you do it. You do it. You find out a way, you find out who's doing what you want to do, and you emulate. And then you create. And once you start creating and once you start finding your own path, passion, and purpose, you elevate your game exponentially, which allows you to do more exponentially. And people can see you more exponentially. Because of my good and solid work at what I do, you've invited me onto your podcast. And now people are going to see me that would never have seen me before, simply because I keep my word and I operate with integrity. It's the easiest thing in the entire world. You want to succeed in life? Operate with integrity.
It's a huge point. A huge point. A lot of it's the society that we have has become easy to do things for the sake of getting ahead at the cost of whatever it costs, right? That's not operating with integrity. You in the past, which I fully believe the trajectory of the world right now is completely changing. So if you're the type of person who would get ahead by trampling on others and, stealing their ideas, yeah, sure, you made some money and you kicked ass and probably have a really cool company now, but the energy of the world has changed and you're not going to succeed on those principles anymore. It's not possible.
I think those people are on their way down. I also think you gave them too much credit. There's no way that somebody who stepped on backs has a really cool company.
No, exactly.
Those people they're being exposed.
They sure are. So it's the facade that has been created where they look like they, are doing great things, but then once you see behind the doors and how shitty it is, people are gonna be like, oh, and they're gonna have their humble pie moment.
Yes.
So who do you mentioned emulating people? Is there anyone that you really want to emulate in your life? Or just do you want to be your own emulation and inspire others? Like where do you stand?
This is a loaded question as well. I mean, I don't. Sorry for the dead air. It's a big one because there's multiple facets to this answer. I say hire a coach. I say every great athlete has a coach. I say stay away from therapy because every therapist wants you to come back next week. They don't want to heal you or fix you or watch you grow. And I say if you are hiring a coach, do your due diligence because every single coach, this industry is fucking shady. Oh, can I swear on this show?
You sure can. Yeah.
Okay. This industry is shady and everyone's just trying to be something. I mean, I understand it. I remember coming up and thinking to myself, when I stepped into sales coaching or stepped out of sales coaching and into quote unquote life coaching or transformational coaching, or now I just refer to myself as a spiritual entertainer. The industry was dirt. It was just filled with confidence men.
Yeah.
And
I have to agree with that.
Yeah. So, but there's always these diamonds in the rough out there. There's always these guys that are just grinding away. They want your attention. They don't want your attention. If you come to them, if you chat with them, a prime example, I'm one of those accounts. You know, we don't have hundreds of thousands of followers. We've got 50,000, not just 50 people, but and there are certain groups of people inside those followers that engage all the time. And you know, when you're in this industry, when you're doing these things, you're not looking to go viral. You do not want to go viral, because if you go viral, and the people that follow you from that virality, you know, they look for something else. You lose your connectivity to the rest of the masses, to the smart people. I don't want to say the smart people versus the dumb people. I want to say your people versus not your people. You're not here to make 1 million followers. You're here to get a message out in this industry. And it gets lost. That gets lost a lot. So who are my mentors? When I started, I didn't have enough money to hire a coach. What I mean by that is there were plenty of coaches that were willing to take my money at $500, $1,000, $5,000, even $10,000. And I'm watching these things and I'm looking at these things, and my whole life I've never had a problem spending money. I've had a massive problem wasting money. I don't want to ever waste money. And your gut and your intuition are usually way more bang on than we ever give ourselves credit for.
For sure.
So I say this, every single person that was willing to take my money was a shyster. So I never hired a coach in the beginning. What I did do was download Audible. And Audible is audiobooks. It's online audiobooks. And it sounds so simple. But where the connection is, people will say, like, I can get this book for free, or I can do this, or I can do that, and I don't need to pay for it. When was the last time you ever respected something you didn't pay for?
There's zero respect if you don't have anything invested into it.
Exactly.
You're not going to treat it. If you spend, $50 on, a micro course, you're going to pay attention to that versus the one that's free, and you're going to be like, oh, I can't freaking handle that.
And even the micro course, like $50, you're like, I've bought so many $50 programs and never even opened them.
Well, like it's also too, like, what's the investment that there's a threshold, right? So it depends on how much you put into it.
And that's another thing too, where you come from financially. There's no multimillionaire that needs to hire a $10,000 coach, right? Like, what am I going to learn with your $10,000? Maybe this, maybe that, right? But as a coach who's coming up, you got to charge to your level.
Exactly.
You got to charge your clients, and we don't even charge that much ourselves, in relativity. But we're certainly not the cheapest, and we're certainly not the most expensive. Our average cost, if you went the full program, you're looking at around $75,000. And I know a ton of people that are like, they've hummed and hawed and said, I'm looking for something a little bit more. So, what do you say? Do you raise your price? Do this, do that? Personally, I found that the best thing that I can do and the best value that I can offer is maximum value for your dollar. Now, back to what we were talking about earlier. My inability to hire a coach at the beginning probably saved me a lot. My Audible collection is now, I think it's like $3,000, $4,000 worth of books in there. And it's beautiful because I paid for those, because I love those, because I literally use Audible every single day.
That's also contributed to who the man you are today, like massively.
Yes. Yeah. The two things that I would say that were the biggest contributors to me changing who I am, is Audible and the ability to speak. So the podcast that I'm speaking, the podcast that is reaching hundreds of thousands of people, and the ability to speak on it, and the information that comes in from the Audible accounts. Audacity, sorry. Wait, Audible. Yeah, I'm right. My brain's melting. It's been a long day.
Glitching.
Yeah, glitching out. So a $13 book versus a $10,000 coach. It's amazing. And if you have the discipline to implement it, you're gonna win for sure. And that's I can't put an absolute price on that, because it's changed my life implicitly.
I completely agree. I started the same way. Like, I started reading Jim Rohn and all the greats that are out there.
That's ironic, man. You and I have so many things in common. Jim Rohn was the first man that ever got through to me.
No way.
Yeah, and his book, The Art of Exceptional Living.
Yeah.
I think that's Jim Rohn. Yeah, The Art of Exceptional Living is Jim Rohn. He says, one of the things that he said was, don't be upset about your creditors. Don't be upset that you owe money. Be thankful that they lent you money in the first place. Right? When you had nothing, they gave it to you. So be thankful for them and pay it back. And it's got nothing to do with them, especially not in today's day and age. Money's just numbers on a screen.
Yep.
But what it does represent is your ability to believe in yourself and to earn for yourself and to grow and to change and alter and create for you. And that's kind of the cool thing on that one. So yeah, Jim Rohn was my very first third dimensional coach, and I adored him. I listened to him forever. Funny thing too, to the male members of your audience, he sounds exactly like Darren Pang. So if you ever grew up playing NHL 99 or NHL 2000 on the PlayStation, which I did, it was very much like getting inspirational quotes and information from Darren Pang, the NHL announcer. I'm like, oh my God, I couldn't shake it. I'm like, this is too hilarious. Like, first he's calling goals in some of my favorite highlights, and now he's telling me in my ear. It's the same voice. It's
Is there
phenomenal.
a crossover? Could he be reincarnated or no? I don't think so.
No, yeah. They would have existed at the same time.
Yeah,
for sure.
Exactly.
But it was a neat thing, And then my first fifth dimensional coach was Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now. And this book was mind numbing. But the one book I would say that changed my life the most, it had the biggest gap impact, was Don Miguel Ruiz, The Four Agreements. This book,
pivotal book.
Yeah, it is a very small book. I carry it with me wherever I go, and I often give it away. Like I've probably given away 40 copies of this book. And all
40 people who received it are probably like completely different people than when they were before it.
Yeah. And even if you want the Coles notes on the Four Agreements, I don't even need to give you the Four Agreements. I mean, they're all important, but if you live your life by one agreement, be impeccable with your word, the whole game changes, right? Well, I mean, take nothing personally is
that's a good one.
They're 50-50, so I take it back. It can't just be one; it's both. Yeah. Be impeccable with your word and take nothing personally
for a reason.
Yeah. I'm just saying, like, you want the Coles notes? I'll give it to you in one line. Be impeccable with your word and take nothing personally.
I mean, there actually is a free download online in a PDF format of what the actual Four Agreements are in Coles notes. So if you really don't need it and you want to know what that is, but I highly suggest actually reading the book.
Well, yeah, there's memes. There's the Four Agreements it's a meme. You can just pull up a meme. Anyone listening to the show, pull up. I mean, if I were you, I don't know if there's a bookmark on the.
Let me see if I can do it.
No, I don't know if there's a bookmark on your thing. I know when I upload a podcast, I put a cover page on it.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you've got a cover page, but that's what I would do. I'd throw the Four Agreements as the cover page for this episode because it's so important. It's powerful. And then from there, you just expand out. Like I've gone into conversations with Dolores Cannon. I've gone into. I mean, I can't even explain. Like
Dolores Cannon is a freaking baller. I love that woman.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some amazing stuff out there. The Carolyn Mist, the Soul Contracts with Carolyn Mist. All of these books are they're just next level. And whether you want to believe in them or not, eventually, if you're on this right path and if you're following your stuff, you're going to find the things that entertain you the most. You're going to find the books and what you find to be the most inspiring. And then when you follow these things that you find to be most inspiring, you speak on these things that you find to be most inspiring. And when you're most inspired, you inspire others simply by being yourself. So everyone's like, it's so impossible. Why would anyone listen to me? This whole 9 yards. If you've got something to say, here's the ratio. If you've got something to say, there's 1 million people that have the desire to listen. That means that there are, 7 billion people on this planet, they claim. Planet. If the ratio's 1 to 1 million, what is that? 7 million people want to talk. I don't know if I did that right. I think I did. So there are 7 million
Don't ask
people.
Me to do it.
There are 7 million people that want to talk out of 7 billion. That can't be right. You know what? I'm just going to do this. I'm going to do this math. I mean, it could be right because I don't know that. Is a billion a million? I'm not sure.
There was a channeler that said something that I was listening to, and that really hit home with me. Is we are in the age where instead of having like a handful of people having millions of followers, we need to have 1 million of people having a handful of followers.
Yes. Yeah. So I was way off on the math. No, it's not divided by 1 million. It's 1 in 10. No, one in okay, you know what? I'm just going to skip the math on that whole thing.
Skip the math.
Yeah, it's irrelevant.
A bunch of people with it.
They need to speak. And what you just said, massive, absolutely massive. Because on my podcast, I have coaches galore. And I've been asked numerous times, like, why, if you offer a coaching service, would you promote another coach? And my answer is always the same. It's not about me. you can listen to my message 1,000 times over and not hear it.
Exactly.
But if somebody's listening to your message, Christy, and it's just like mine, even if you could read, if I gave you a script or not, I'm just saying, if we had an identical message.
I mean, we already do.
And somebody, it's kind of interesting. And somebody's listening to, my show and they're like, whatever. And then they hear your show and they're like, wow, this girl's got it. She's got it figured out.
It's literally the exact same words that you just said.
Exactly.
But they didn't hear.
But it all comes down to energy. This is again why I said, ladies and gentlemen, vet your coaches, because everybody's a little bit different. So
I agree.
It's important for me that every single person that is looking finds what they're looking for, whether it's me or you. I'm not in it for the money. The money only exists in this interaction, in this transaction, because you need to pay it. For you to believe in yourself and commit to yourself, you need to commit mind, body, and soul, and financially. Because any one of those things is missing, you can walk away, especially if you're coming from broken. From broken, you're already assuming it's going to fail. So you're like, oh, I'm not going to do it. But if you're like, you know what? I've put $10,000 of my own money into this. I'm damn well going to earn that back. And that's where it comes from. That's the whole purpose of the money transaction in this. I mean, you and I could talk about money, and we could do an entire show on how fake it is and what the whole purpose of money is. But
the energetic exchange and all that, yeah.
We don't need to go down that road today.
No.
Today is an intro to anyone that wants more, really.
How amazing our conversations are.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, sometimes we just talk about this stuff when there's nobody listening.
It's true.
And sometimes I use my radio voice when I'm not on the radio.
You do use that a lot.
It's a fun one to just fall back on and just throw out there. Especially when you're in the drive-thru, like, hello, can I get you anything? Yes, I'd absolutely love it. Apple turnover and a cup of coffee, thank you very much.
Yeah, like, what is going on?
Yeah, who's talking to me? Are you making fun of me, sir? I'm absolutely not making fun of you. I hope you have a wonderful day. I'll see you at the window in 3, 2, 1.
So I'm going to loop into two things. One, hopefully I'll remember them both. One, you mentioned 3D mentors and you mentioned 5D mentors.
Right.
And there are some people who are probably listening who have no idea what the difference between 3D and 5D is. Loop in your perspective on the 3D and 5D mentor and just loop into the 3D, 5D mentor. And I won't even go to the next one yet.
So we talked about Jim Rohn. Jim Rohn is a man who will teach you the value of a dollar. A man who will teach you your worth when it comes to the value of a dollar. He'll teach you what it represents, where you stand, what you should do. He'll tell you stories that you would never have even fathomed yourself. And he will help you firmly in the third dimension. The third dimension is where we all start off. We are all born into the third dimension, and humanity is not born into this world. We are born out of it. So the minute you realize that the third dimension is not enough for you, that's when you step into more. People are like, oh, what's more? What's 3D? What's 5D? 5D is very much like 3D, except for the entirety of everything is different, which is, we have a prime example, a very third dimensional rudimentary demonstration for this would be, if you're standing in a grocery store and there are people wearing masks and there are people not wearing masks, you understand that these people who are wearing masks absolutely believe the mask is doing something. And the people not wearing masks absolutely believe the masks do nothing. We live in a world in that very microcosm where two realities are absolutely accurate. Because the mask wearers believe it and the non-mask wearers believe it, which is a split reality. And what we're taught to do is fight each other. How dare you have a different opinion than me?
Yeah.
That's third dimensional.
You're a horrible person if you don't believe what I believe. You're like, excuse me?
A fifth dimensional person will walk by two third dimensional persons. People? Peoples?
Peoples?
We'll walk past them and go, you guys are fighting over absolutely nothing. You're fighting over the same point. Have fun with it. Quit being so led by the media. So third dimensionally, coaches, how to handle your finances, how to handle life, how to handle love. Jim Rohn is phenomenal. Nothing can be taken away from this man. Fifth dimensionally, I'm not interested. Fifth dimensionally, I'm doing everything I can in my power to be the version of me I need to be. And having made that switch, I no longer worry about money. Money comes, money goes. Money is what it is. Am I ultra rich? No. Do I have nice things? Some of them are shiny. Do I care? They're practical. I need the things that are practical to make my enjoyment and experience practical.
Mhm.
In the third dimension, I need a BMW sitting in my driveway so that people understand that I'm a powerhouse.
Yeah, it's
In the fifth
very
dimension,
ego
in the fifth
fear.
dimension, I need a BMW sitting in my driveway because I know it's a very reliable car as long as I change the oil on time, Christy. Right? It's a matter of being in a place that's she snorted on the thing too. Look at that.
I just got
Snorting all
called
over.
out, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, a
I'm
little
like
bit.
5,000 kilometers overdue.
Yeah. But that's it. So the BMW sitting in Christie's driveway has nothing to do with status.
No.
Although I believe at one point when it was purchased, it did, right? Because you
Yeah, I
made the
was
shift.
totally fully into the 3D ego shit.
Yeah.
Like I was in a point where I believed in the things to have, the purses, the shiny objects, the nice watches, the BMW, the white house with the picket fence, like all that shit. And then that's exactly it. What you said, when the 3D isn't enough, I
Yeah.
had all that. And
Yeah.
I hit a point where I'm just like, why the frick am I not happy? I'm like, I have everything that I'm supposed to be striving for and coveting after, and I feel like shit. And then that's exactly when I had my own shift into, the different dimensional thinking and going down these explorative
And what you just described there is literally my specific avatar. The person that has amassed everything: white picket fence, 2.5 kids, 3-car garage. Why am I not happy? Well, here's why. And that's where the transformational coach steps in. And that's where we start making strides and we start creating true happiness inside you. Now, your Beamer, for example, to go back to the 3D 5D, I remember when that car first came out and I'm like, this is a really, really nice car. It's beautiful. It's so well put together. The lines at the time were just stunning on this BMW. And if I wasn't such a big guy, I would be like, I should probably get one of those. But I laugh too because, my car, third dimensional, it's beautiful. Fifth dimensional, it's beautiful. But I laugh when you called me bougie for driving the car just simply because it was clean. And you're like, well, wait a minute now.
I love it. Your
Yeah.
car is actually very clean and well taken care of. I feel I feel like I need to up my game and appreciate my 5D.
Yeah. And my car isn't. I bought a Cadillac, right? So the third dimensional people could say, oh, well, he still spent more than he needed to. Well, truth be told, I bought a Cadillac because their service is impeccable. I already needed it once. My car had a fluke accident. Cadillac came and took care of it. So I bought peace of mind, and that's what the money is for that. I also bought American. If my car falls apart, I plan on driving the wheels off that thing.
Mm-hmm.
And if my car falls apart, I just got to put Chevy parts on it. I don't need to import Mercedes parts or BMW parts. Like, it was a very practical decision. And that's a 5D move. You're like, I'm not going to buy a $5,000 beater to get around. I need to be comfortable and I need to be reliable. That's what this world's all about.
Feel like in the spiritual community, there is this whole, some people have this push to be taboo. Well, if you're spiritual, you don't need to have nice things. It's not about that. Like, people need to kind of let this shit go. We're allowed to honor ourselves, and if we want them, we can have them. We're allowed to play in the 3D. It just doesn't have to define us.
Living in the third dimension, I used to say things like, if God didn't want me riding jet skis, he wouldn't have made jet skis. In the fifth dimension, I don't need to buy a jet ski when you can just rent one. Just toy around with it.
We
for
don't
the
have
day.
to own everything. Oh my God, that's a huge thing. Like,
yeah.
Eric would always be like, I need to buy this, I need to buy that. I'm like, dude, you're gonna ride it like maybe 3 times a year. Just freaking rent one.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. And that's that's the thing. Like, there's the app Turo. Like, if you want to get fancy, you can go into Turo and like rent a Lambo.
You totally
like, if you want to be cool.
Yeah.
And here's another thing too, the way the brain works. Like, I love my car, and I've told this story 1,000 times because our brain is a fucking dick most of the time. I did tons of research, and I didn't buy new. I bought used. I bought secondhand because why would I spend $90,000 on a car I could get for 50?
Yep.
So I look at all of this stuff, and I'm super proud of my choice. I'm super proud of sort of where I was, and the car is just, it's sleek, it's sexy, it's beautiful. It made me happy. If God didn't want me driving around. Now, third dimensionally, if God didn't want me driving around this car, he wouldn't have invented it.
He wouldn't have made it.
Fifth dimensionally, if I wasn't supposed to have this car, it wouldn't be in my ethos for comparison.
Right.
And that's how you take your power back as well, because it's got nothing to do with God. You are God in the 5th dimension, 6th dimension, 7th dimension.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I can easily jump into a 10th dimension conversation, but
It might blow some minds here.
yeah, people wouldn't. There's some syllables in there that would go crazy. So the idea behind where you are, what you want to produce, and how you want to go about it is huge. One of the craziest things that happens to every single person who quote unquote wakes up. Now, don't confuse waking up with being woke, because it happened at the same time. People started waking up left, right, and center, and then the liberal media stole it and called it woke.
Yep.
These woke bastards are hilarious. These are the guys that are whitewashing all of our advertising, leaving anyway, the sorry, my train of thought just fell at my ear. He's like, you get frustrated too, because you still have to live in this world, and you're just like, oh God,
it's completely aggravating, especially when you're living in a realm, a realm where you could see how amazing everything could be if people would just simply relax.
Yeah. It's true. No, it's true. And that's what I was talking about. Yeah. So anyone that goes through the awakening experience, one of the first steps that you do is downsize. You get rid of all the shit that you collected.
You're exactly right.
And you just simply keep the stuff that makes you feel something.
Yep.
Right. And then when you look around at all this stuff, you're like, why the fuck do I have all of this? Why do I need any of this? I don't need any of this stuff. And it's a fun experience, because now, I've said 1,000 times, my car's big enough that I can. Oh, that was the other part that I was going to say. My car and your brain, how much of a piece of shit your brain is. I sat in my car after contemplating the purchase for months and months and months. Well, maybe not that long. I wasn't in the car as the owner of the car I would say I wasn't even in the car for a second. And my brain goes, well, the Escalade is out there. And I was just like, what a dick move, brain. Like, I got over it real quick.
Let you enjoy it.
Not even for a second. Right. And I just shut the front door. We're going for it. And I love my car more and more every single day. And it shows, the car is as immaculate as possible, simply because it's a reflection of who I am.
Yeah.
Right. And that's how everything should be. Your clothes should be tidy. Whether you want to wear suits all day, that's a reflection of who you are. I also found too that in the 5th dimension, I don't need suits anymore. I'll wear them as a representation, but I want to be comfortable more than anything else. So jeans and a t-shirt is kind of the way I go.
That's why I ditched heels. Yeah. As a woman, they're always like, you have to wear heels. I'm like, okay, first of all, it was invented by a man who never had to walk in them.
That's right.
And I believed that as a woman, I had to. Yeah, you know what? I'll still wear them because I like them. But at that point, it's my decision to make that choice. I didn't feel like I was forced to wear it just because I'm a woman. And
that's right.
And that's exactly it. I'm in flats more than I am in heels, but there's times where I want to pull it out, but that's my choice. So I get it.
Yeah, white on white runners, Vans.
Yeah. You know it.
That's right. And white on white is classic. It's a classic statement. I got a friend of mine that's like, I don't like white on whites. I'm like, well, don't look at this stack of shoes over here, because
you keep a shoe. Your eyes. Look somewhere else.
you keep a shoe a white on white. That just goes to show. That just says something about your ability to maintain and take care of your, who you are and what you want. It's indicative.
Mm-hmm.
I used to say things like, don't take life advice from somebody with shitty shoes, but I don't say that anymore, simply because you never know what they've been through, right? And you never know what kind of information you can glean. What I say now is, don't take fashion advice from somebody with shitty shoes.
I mean, that's appropriate fashion advice, because life advice, you can actually have some of the most greatest lessons from someone with shitty shoes.
And that's what I'm saying. So my own arrogance at the beginning and the onset of this journey stated, don't take life advice from somebody with shitty shoes. I don't know if you've ever experienced, Christy, having false bravado.
Mm-hmm.
And putting it out in the public, maybe writing a book about it or something like that.
I sure did. Yeah. I hate it. If anyone listening to this has read my book, Make Life Happen, I deeply apologize for putting that out there in the ethos. But it was part of my journey. It was part of my lesson. And it is filled with ego, and I absolutely hate it. So it'll never see the light of day again. But it's there, and I'll keep it for a reminder.
If I ever see you again, I want a copy of your books autographed, because every single person that I've had on the show that is an author, I have an autographed copy of their book. So that pile of steaming
You
manure.
want the steaming manure too?
Yes, I want all 3 of your books autographed and on my shelf if I ever see you again, which I may or
Okay.
may not do. Who knows?
Who
I mean,
knows?
I'm sure we'll cross paths. We're both pretty cool people.
Agreed.
I love that smile. Bah, you just light up a room. Look at you.
I try. You know what? Bring on. Ooh, Popo just drove by.
Oh, that's
Distraction.
it. They're coming for
They
you.
saw my smile. They're like, boop, boop, wind it
Yeah.
down, girl.
She's having too much fun. We've got the thought police with us. This one's a thinker.
She's a rowdy one.
Yeah,
Okay, so let's pivot this.
Sure.
You I want to talk about gratitude. I know you mentioned Jim Rohn, and you said don't complain about the bill that you have. Just be grateful they're, whatever, to give you money. They're in a position or wanted to give you money.
Right.
I believe in that. So I live my life. At least I try and live my life as much as I can through the basis of gratitude. And I did the whole, I don't know if you've heard of the arigato method, where
Domo arigato?
well,
Mr. Roboto?
Arigato is like, thank you, it's gratitude.
Yeah.
And the arigato method is sharing gratitude for absolutely everything that comes into your life. So if you have, money that comes into your life, thank that money. If you're buying a coffee, thank that money for buying you that coffee. Thank
Nice.
your bills for coming in because you have the money to be able to pay for those bills. Just thank
Right.
everything. And the more gratitude that I've had for anything, money or whatever, it brought more into my life. Do you find the whole gratitude principle, because it's pretty intertwined in the spiritual community, a lot of gratitude is out there for, just simply being. How do you live your life with gratitude? Do you?
When I was younger, I needed to defend what was mine. Third dimensionally, we're in a fascinating spot third dimensionally, because the boomers that spent their whole lives earning the money and worrying about money are now in a position where they're worrying about defending it. Because in Canada, we're being robbed left, right, and center. So every single boomer who only had the ability to focus on earning the money is now focusing on saving and protecting the money. They never really got out of that position. That energy. They never got out of that energy. So when it comes to money, I don't view it the way anybody else does. I view money simply as the result of a job well done. And when you keep your integrity levels up, your money situation is an energetic exchange with the ethos. If you don't have enough money, shift, change, alter, adapt. If you have too much money, you're going to slack. You're going to get comfortable. One of my favorite memes is, you're getting comfortable. You know what happened last time you got too comfortable. And people don't think about it until they read something like that. And they're like, holy shit. My life literally fell apart because I spent too much time in my comfort zone. So do you want a lot of money? Absolutely not. Do you want to have an experience? Absolutely. Do you want? If I won the lottery, every single person in my life would be benefited. And they're like, oh, what? You would just give it all away? I'm like, it's not that I would give it all away, but I would certainly clear up debt. I would do whatever I can to help people in my life.
That's exactly it. Doing those things, clearing up debt. I fantasize, like, if I won the lottery, what would I do with it? I have so many things. Like, I want to start charities for dogs in third world countries where they can get spayed and neutered, and people would get paid to bring them in humanely, so it would reduce the pet population, and not only giving to friends and family that need it, paying off debt, creating
What's your thought on
opportunities
spaying and neutering like humanity? Let's quell some of these people. Haha. I think that humanity's been spayed and neutered. I think that's what birth control was. I think that it's a joke for us to say that, oh, we're better than dogs, because we're not. We're a lot of the times we're treated like cattle. Or prisoners. You think you're free? Go ahead. Try to drive over into America. See what happens.
I mean, there's a lot of
your walking papers. All right.
Yeah, there's a lot of things in our life that we have the illusion of freedom.
So when you talk about gratitude, I used to look at this stuff and complain and be like, "Oh God, we're just free range humans. It's all terrible." Now there's some terms. I've got some terms here, Christy.
Uh-oh.
These terms are red pill. I'm sure you're familiar with red pill.
Oh yeah, it's from the Matrix.
Right. Are you familiar with black pill?
No.
So there's red pill, black pill, white pill.
What happened to blue pill?
Blue pill is what everybody's on right now. It's called Viagra. All of the pills that you're, supposed to just forget about everything and dumb yourself down with. You want to, the blue pill is Viagra. The red pill is information. Do you want to know where you are, or do you want an erection?
Yeah.
95% of this world will take the erection. Why? Because systematically, all the food they've eaten throughout the course of their lives has taken that erection away from them, and they think it's their fault because they're also trained not to talk about personal issues.
I mean,
everybody knew how many problems that everybody else had that were similar to theirs. Anyway, red pill is information. I've been red pilled, and with a red pill, you understand certain things, and then you get black pilled, where you're like, okay, all of these entities are involved, and all of these things are working against you, and then you get white pilled, where everything is exactly as it's supposed to be, and you live in a world where you just fully understand and comprehend that you don't need to know everything, that the position of everything is not vile. It's not anything other than designed specifically to have you understand, comprehend yourself, to wake up and to be glorious and grateful for everything. People will then say, well, what, you're grateful for taxes? Well, look, if you think that taxes are such a pile of shit, stop paying them. Figure out a way or do some research on what they are. If you're uncomfortable with anything in your life, figure out what it is, why, and how to either circumvent it, avoid it, or completely just accept the fact that it is what it is.
I mean, once you accept the fact it is what it is, you got to stop bitching about it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Anything in life. Figure out a solution or stop bitching about it.
Figure it out, god damn it. And that's where it is. So my gratitude lies in my ability to understand myself. My gratitude lies in the fact that I've become a person that attracts beautiful people. I don't mean physically beautiful. I don't mean a perfect 10, based on Victoria's Secret standards. I mean beautiful people. I mean salt of the earth. I mean the real people that are going to help my mission in life. And if these people are helping me, I'm able to help more people, and more people are able to help more people.
I completely agree.
And the more we have this ability to connect with these people, the more we have the ability to do this. The only way you're going to find these people, too, is if you're your authentic self. We have pathological liars running around this world wondering why nothing works out for them. Because everything you're putting out into the world as a pathological liar is bullshit.
Yep.
So everything you're getting back from this world is bullshit.
Yep.
If you wonder why you're having such a hard time in your relationship or in your finances or in your business, and you're out there shitting on your significant other or anything like that, like if you're a giant asshole and you're not willing to accept any blame or responsibility for your actions, and all you want to do is point the finger at somebody else, you're fucked. And you'll never even understand that it was your mistake the whole time. Right? All these people want to do is point the finger. So when you meet these people, when you see them, or when somebody's pointing the finger at you, you're just like, how on earth did I ever see anything in you? And then you think to yourself, so grateful, you think to yourself, son of a bitch. At one point, we were on the same page, and they never moved. And I did. And that's disheartening. That hurts. But it's also the most beautiful reward that you'll ever see. It's the most beautiful vindication that you are on the right path in your life.
I completely agree. And I had my initial, let's say, awakening in like 2016 when I mentioned that I had all that shit, all the 3D shit, and I wasn't happy, right? So I had my initial one, and that's when I was like, there has to be something more to life. As soon as I started going down the path of there has to be something more to life, I started changing and showing up differently. I stopped caring about the things that I used to care about. I stopped caring about the flashy purses and the, impressing people that really don't fucking matter. Buying things, going into debt for a lot of crap. And then
what was that statement? We buy things with money we don't have. We buy
Yeah.
things we don't want or don't need with money we don't have to impress people we don't like.
Or don't even know or care
Yeah.
about.
Welcome to the
Yeah,
third
it's
dimension. Yeah.
complete, like, what a fucking trap.
Yeah.
So once I stopped, or once I acknowledged that part in my life and I started changing, I started to notice amazing people showing up in my life. Amazing people, people who would inspire me. And I'm like, where the heck did these people come from? And
Right.
some of them wouldn't be there for a long time, but they're in my life long enough to get me to be like, hey, these people are new. Their energy is different. I'm recognizing these people are showing up differently than the people I currently have in my life.
We
And
show up
that,
to match your show up.
so that completely transformed how, like, my journey. And today, I think I'm surrounded by the most amazing people in my life.
Yeah.
We have the brilliant conversations. Nothing is, off the table. We can have these conversations on taboo topics and not hate each other at the end of it. And I hope that the world can enjoy this as well. I think we should all be able to have conversations, whether it's considered taboo or not, or inspirational. And even if you disagree with it, you don't have to hate the other person.
Yeah, tell that to my high school best friend. Ryan, if you're listening to this show, I'm talking to you.
I mean, it's sad that people are willing to cut relationships off and throw them away like they were nothing. I understand energies may not resonate, and things change over time, but it doesn't mean you cut people off. You might limit your time with them, but you can still have a pretty great time with someone you have something like nothing in common with.
That's right. For a reason, a season, or a lifetime, these are your friends.
Exactly.
And, a lot of the times, too, when friends come and go, one of the things that we take for granted or don't think about is you grew into this friend and you're growing out of this friend.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay. It's okay to do that. We
have to be okay with letting people go too.
Yeah, we when somebody like cuts us off, right? We like, oh, how dare you? But there are so many people in our lives that we just inadvertently stopped messaging.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't mean to stop messaging you. It's just that life carried on and you disappeared.
Yeah.
Actively, there are people in our lives that will cling to you because of who you are, because of your energy, because they're in a terrible spot, or they it's not that they're in a terrible spot. It's just that their character is designed to cling to you. These people are designed to usurp your energy. Mm-hmm. Fifth dimensionally, sixth dimensionally, seventh dimensionally. It's because you need to learn to set boundaries. That's why these people exist. These people that won't go away. These people that text you in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
These people exist in your life for you to get stronger and for you to set healthier boundaries.
Yeah. Those who only show up when there's a problem. And if you have a problem, they're never there for you. Like, there's very one-sided kind of relationships. And we all have had them in our life. And that's exactly what it is. Teach us to set these boundaries. Because only we are responsible for our own lives. We are responsible for setting our own boundaries and enforcing them. Yeah, we can't say to someone, hey, I don't like this and I don't want you to do it anymore. We can't change that person. We just say, if you do this, I no longer want to be a part of that situation. And we remove ourselves from those situations. And they can't be mad at that because we set that boundary. We said, if you do XYZ, if you call me a fucking name, I will be walking away. Mm-hmm. If you call me a name, I'm going to walk away. But if you call me a name and I don't walk away, that's on me.
Another thing too about boundaries is if you're setting them, if you're imposing boundaries on somebody else, that person needs to understand that the only reason you're imposing that boundary is because you want to keep them in your life initially. Mm-hmm. Right? If anything else, you could just walk away. You're like, to hell with this. Je suis out.
Yeah, and people think it's so easy. You're like, oh yeah, you're just walking away by setting a boundary. You're like, actually, what you just said is completely correct. You set boundaries because you want to have that person in your life. It's just how they're showing up does not, you don't appreciate it, right? Yeah. It's not healthy. And it's healthy for us to be able to set those boundaries and say, you know what, this no longer works for me anymore. Yeah.
No, it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing, all this human growth and how we decide to show up for ourselves. Because at the end of the day, it really boils down to you having your own back and you understanding that, these are the things that you need to do to make sure that your journey is fantastic.
We're our own advocates. No one else will be.
And in the third dimension, you're taught that if you put yourself first, you're being selfish.
Mm-hmm.
So you're taught not to do it. You're taught to make sure that everybody around you is okay except for you.
Mm-hmm.
But if you actually make yourself okay first, then there's so much more of you to give to everybody else that may need it.
Exactly.
I love that.
Holy shit. Like that whole hour just blew by. Are we like...
That was a good hour.
Yeah. Do you have anything you want to add?
I don't know. I think that, I think that this is a good introduction. I'm pretty sure this won't be the last time I'm on your show.
No, I think we'll do more. I love our conversations. I think they flow really nicely. We're on the same page pretty much. I don't think we have a topic that we don't agree on yet.
Excellent.
Which makes for awesome conversations.
Absolutely.
Yeah, amazing, Adam. Thank you so much for joining us on the Conscious Journey podcast.
Of course.
And everyone here listening, you can check out Adam's his own amazing podcast at the Mental Mastery Alliance. I'm going to have links in our description below. And of course, if you like this episode, write a comment, share it with your friends. That is how the gift of knowledge is spread, is by sharing. So until next time, guys, on the Conscious Journey, we will see you later.